All right, so you're thinking about picking up Mel Robbins' The Let Them Theory and wondering if it's actually worth your time. Well,
You've come to the right place. This book is, well, it's really generating a lot of buzz, right?
yeah.
Some people are saying it's completely changed their life, and then others are saying it's just a bunch of rehashed ideas. So we're diving into a bunch of different stuff to try to help you decide.
What kind of stuff?
Reviews, reader comments, even some notes for a book review video.
Cool.
That should give us a pretty good picture, to decide if it deserves to be on your reading list.
Awesome. Okay, so the book basically claims to be this, like, life-changing tool for happiness and success and love, and it all comes down to just two words: let them.
Yeah, let them.
Sounds a little too good to be true, right?
Right. So the basic idea is like letting go of the need to control everybody else.
Okay.
Accepting people for who they are, all the good stuff, all the bad stuff, and then focusing more on your own reactions, how you act, how you react to things.
That does sound kind of familiar, though. I mean, isn't that kind of like Stoicism or Buddhism or even like just basic common sense? What makes this book, different or special?
I mean, yeah, you're right. It does touch on a lot of familiar concepts, but Robbins is really good at taking those complex ideas and making them, very practical, actionable,
Okay,
easy to understand and apply.
gotcha.
Like, she's not trying to reinvent the wheel here, but she does a good job of giving you, like, a new set of tires, so to speak. She uses a lot of stories, real-life examples, and I think that's what makes it stand out.
Okay, so it's less about theory and more about actually doing something.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the negative reviews? Some people are calling it repetitive, simplistic, even fluffy.
Yeah, I mean, some readers definitely felt like the book could have been a lot shorter. They felt she kind of hammered the same point home over and over again. And sometimes the personal anecdotes, they kind of overshadow the main message.
So maybe it's not the best choice for people who are already familiar with these ideas or prefer their self-help, more nuanced, in-depth.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. And then there's the personal stories. That was a big point of contention in the reviews, actually.
Oh, really? How so?
So some people really loved them. They
Mhm.
found them, relatable, vulnerable. Like it made the author seem more human. But then the others were like, get to the point. They felt like it was too much.
Yeah, sometimes those personal stories can be hit or miss, right?
Definitely. It's a gamble.
So if you're not into that kind of thing, this might not be the book for you.
Exactly. Now there's another big thing we need to address. The plagiarism controversy.
Oh, yeah, I saw some people talking about that online. What's the deal there?
So one reader pointed out that the Let Them theory is basically the same as this poem by Cassie Phillips, which was, going around online a while ago,
Before the book came out.
way before the book. And so, I mean, it's a serious accusation, right?
Yeah, definitely. So how does Robbins respond to this?
Well, there's a lawsuit going on right now, actually. So that will probably settle things one way or another. But we've included some links in the episode description,
Oh, cool.
so you can check out the poem yourself and read some articles about the case.
Oh, that's really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And form your own opinion, obviously. but it's something to consider.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if, originality is important to you.
Exactly.
Speaking of things that are important to me, I did see a few positive comments about the section on adult friendships. Is there anything particularly insightful there, that would justify reading the whole book?
It's not so much about like revolutionary advice, but it's more about applying the let them philosophy to, those tricky friendship dynamics.
Okay.
So like say you have a friend who always flakes on you. Instead of getting all frustrated and, trying to change them, you just let them be flaky and focus on, being friends with people who are more reliable.
Yeah.
It's about like shifting your perspective
Okay.
so you can have more peace of mind.
Okay. So instead of trying to like change your friend, you just kind of accept them and focus on, people who are a better fit for you.
Exactly. It's about like realizing that you can't control other people, right? Only how you respond to them.
Right.
And that actually brings us to another important part of the theory, which is the let me part.
Let me. Okay. What's that all about?
So let me is about it's about letting yourself off the hook, right? Like giving yourself permission to not be perfect,
Okay.
not having to have everything under control all the time.
So it's kind of like the self-compassion part of it.
Exactly. It's about extending that same grace to yourself that you're trying to extend to other people,
I like that.
accepting your flows, accepting your mistakes.
Okay. So we've got let them and let me. Sounds pretty simple, but does it actually work? Like, does it really live up to this whole life-changing promise?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question, right? And like with any self-help book, I think it really depends on the person, right?
Right.
How much they're willing to actually put these ideas into practice. But looking at the reviews, I mean, some people did report some pretty significant changes in their relationships, just their overall well-being?
Oh, interesting. Can you give us like some specific examples?
Yeah, for sure. So one reader talked about how after reading the book and starting to apply the let them theory, she was finally able to like let go of this resentment she had towards her mother
Okay.
because her mother wasn't very emotionally available. And another reader said that it helped him to stop trying to control his partner's spending habits
Oh, wow.
and to really focus on managing his own finances instead. So it sounds like, yeah, it can be helpful for all kinds of different relationships, not just romantic ones.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and another thing that kept popping up in the positive reviews was that the book helped people to set better boundaries.
Oh, interesting. Boundaries. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, so for instance, let's say you've got this coworker, right? And they're always asking you to cover their shifts.
Oh, yeah.
Using the let them theory, you'd realize that it's okay to say no.
Right.
You have the right to protect your time and energy.
It's so hard to say no sometimes, though,
Yes,
especially at work.
especially at work. But Robbins gives you some she gives you some actual tips, some practical advice on how to do that, how to set those boundaries in a way that's like assertive but still kind.
That's really helpful. Okay, so there's definitely some good stuff in this book, but is it really worth all the hype?
That's a tough one. I mean, if you're like a stoicism expert or something, if you're already familiar with all these concepts, then it might feel a little basic.
Okay, yeah.
But if you're looking for something practical, something relatable, and you want some help with managing relationships and learning to be a little kinder to yourself, then I think it could be worth checking out.
Okay, so who exactly would you recommend this book to?
I think anyone who's like feeling really overwhelmed, by this need to control other people or people
Mhm.
who are just like struggling with setting those boundaries that we were talking about.
Right.
And honestly, anyone who just needs a little reminder to be a little nicer to themselves.
I love that. Okay, and on the other hand, who do you think should probably skip it?
If you're looking for like some super deep dive into philosophy,
Right.
or like some groundbreaking psychological research, this is probably not the book for you.
Yeah, fair enough.
And if you just don't like self-help in general, or if you've read Robin's other stuff and you're just not a fan, then you can probably skip this one too.
Okay, that makes sense. You mentioned earlier that some people were comparing the let them theory to the subtle art of not giving a feek. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so they both kind of deal with this idea of like letting go,
Yeah.
choosing your battles. But subtle art is definitely it's a little edgier, a little more in your face. While love and theory is, I'd say it's a little gentler, a little more encouraging.
So it kind of depends on like what kind of tone you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And another book that comes to mind is Daring Greatly by Brene Brown.
Oh, I love that book.
Yeah, it's a good one.
How does that compare?
So Daring Greatly focuses more on like the power of vulnerability,
Okay.
being authentic in your relationships, that kind of thing. While Let Them Theory is more about like letting go of that need to control, right?
Mhm.
Accepting people for who they are.
So they're both kind of in the same ballpark, but coming at it from like slightly different angles.
Exactly. And honestly, I think they could even work well together.
Yeah, totally. Okay, well, I feel like we've covered a lot here.
We have.
We talked about the main ideas, the good, the bad, how it compares to other books. But I still have one kind of nagging question.
Okay, what's that?
Does it actually work? Like, could just saying let them actually change my life?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And honestly, there's no easy answer. It really comes down to you. You know how much effort you're willing to put in
Right.
and how willing you are to kind of challenge those old patterns of behavior.
So it's not like a magic bullet.
Definitely not. But it can be a powerful tool, I think, for growth and transformation.
If you're willing to like do the work.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm intrigued, but I'm still a little hesitant. What would you say to someone who's like on the fence about reading this book?
I think I'd ask them what they're hoping to get out of it, if they're looking for a quick fix.
Yeah,
Like all their problems are going to magically disappear, then no, this is probably not the right book.
right.
But if they're open to trying something new, to exploring a different way of thinking, and if they're willing to put in the work, then yeah, it might be worth a shot.
Okay, I'm convinced. I'm adding it to my list.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. And even if you end up, deciding that the let them theory isn't for you, I hope this deep dive at least gave you some things to think about.
Definitely.
And maybe even inspired you to, check out some other books on the personal development.
For sure. And that's what I love about these deep dives. It's not just about one book. It's about, getting curious and exploring different ideas.
Exactly.
Okay, before we wrap up, I have one final thought-provoking question for you. This one is inspired by one of those more critical Goodreads reviews. Think about a time when you really, really wanted to control a situation,
Okay.
or like control another person's behavior. How did that work out for you?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Would letting them have been a better approach?
Oh man, we've all been there, right?
Totally.
Trying to force things to go our way, but it usually just ends up backfiring, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe letting go a little bit actually gives you more control in the long run.
It's like a paradox.
It is, yeah.
Mind blown. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive into the let them theory. I feel like I could actually hold my own in a book club discussion now.
Anytime.
Don't forget you can find links to all those sources we talked about in the episode description.
Yep, including that Cassie Phillips poem. And the info about the plagiarism lawsuit. Definitely check those out.
Yes, please do. And let us know what you think. Have you read the let them theory? Did it resonate with you?
Yeah.
Have you ever used a let them approach in your own life? We want to hear all about it. Come chat with us on social media.
Yeah, come hang out.
Until next time, happy reading. And remember to keep diving deeper.
And let go of those control issues.
Until next time, happy reading. It's so easy to relate to that, right? Like we've all been there. You're trying to plan a dinner with friends, and there's always that one person who just won't commit to a date. Or your partner, they leave their clothes all over the floor no matter how many times you ask them to pick up.
Oh, yeah. It's like in those moments where the let them theory really starts to make sense, like instead of getting all frustrated and trying to, force the situation, what if you just kind of, I don't know, just let them be?
Just let it go?
Yeah. You accept that, okay, my friend's noncommittal, my partner's messy, and then, I don't know, you kind of adjust your expectations accordingly.
It sounds so simple, but I can see how that shift in perspective could actually be really, really freeing.
Right.
It's about picking your battles, realizing that you can't control other people, only how you react to them.
Exactly. And that's where the whole let me part comes in. That's about giving yourself permission to just let go of the frustration, the resentment, let yourself off the hook for things that you ultimately can't control.
So it's not about being passive. It's more about taking back your own power by choosing how you respond.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe by letting go of that need to control, you actually create space for a more positive change. Like maybe your friend will eventually surprise you and actually commit to plans, or, your partner will start picking up their clothes without you having to nag them. Or maybe not, but at least you won't be, carrying around all that frustration all the time.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely food for thought. Thanks for guiding us through this deep dive into the let them theory. I feel like it definitely given me a new perspective on, managing relationships and all those tricky situations where we all kind of crave that control, you
Yeah.
know. Well, that about wraps it up for our deep dive into the let them theory. Don't forget you can find links to all the sources we talked about, including that Cassie Phillips poem and more information on that plagiarism lawsuit down in the episode description.
Yeah, be sure to check those out.
And we would love to hear your thoughts. Have you read To Let Them Theory? Did it resonate with you? Have you ever tried using this whole let them approach in your own life? Share your experience and come join the conversation on social media.
Yeah, let's chat.
Until next time, happy reading.